Don't let everybody come in there.
Welcome. Thank you. Kubala Black Queen here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back in the building. It's your homie, man. Busting you back upside the head with another hot banger. Boogie, please go tell somebody your homie, man, is on. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Please follow, like, share, and subscribe on all the platforms at Love HerbMan, all right? At Love HerbMan. We are currently live on TikTok and YouTube. So go over there, take a look, sit down, unwind, and enjoy the HerbMan show. For all you guys that don't know, again, I am your neighborhood holistic practitioner. I am your homie HerbMan. All right. So all we do here is simply teach people how to heal themselves. And you cannot heal yourself unless you know thyself. So we teach you about the human frame and the human design so that you guys can be well on your way to happiness, wholeness, and wellness. That's what you hear at the HerbMan show. So we appreciate all of you guys for allowing me to come into your Saturday morning space, wherever you are on the planet, and allow us to show you and unlock to you some of the greatest things that we could ever expose to you, which is how to get well. And in how to get well, you understand how to get wealthy. So we teach this in a garden terminology. We teach this in a garden terminology because once we know that you are surefire understanding how to produce something, how to produce an idea, how to create and then bring something to fruition, right? When we surely know that you know how to get your green thumb, right? That you are one back with nature, that you understand now the elements and what is responsible, what are the ingredients for growing and producing an idea, a baby, a pet. If you took care of anything, you know how to take care of it from nothing to something, from little bit to a big bit. Then you know how to produce something. You know how to care for that particular thing. You know what are the ingredients and elements to get a thing from a little small something to a big something, from a seed to a fruit, from a baby to an adult. You know how to do these things, from a little puppy to an adult pet. You know how to do these things. So once we get ingrained into you that you know how to produce, then now healing, if that's what you're here for, then now your finances, then now your social awareness, your social relationships, now you know how to produce the outcome of that which you want instead of accidentally always making mistakes with your decision. Now, instead of being accidental, you be intentional with everything that you're doing in this paradigm. And also, it allows you to start to learn how to utilize and manipulate certain elements out here that you have at your disposal. People don't know that they got a little angel over them. People don't know they got some help. People don't know that they were giving a particular element for you to be able to manipulate to help you along the way. Folks don't understand nothing else about air other than you need oxygen. People don't understand anything else about Earth other than you need the Earth to keep spinning. People don't know anything about water other than the fact that you need it to drink. People don't know anything about the sun other than the fact that you need it for life. There's other mechanisms of these things that help you along the way if you understood. That's what we teach you by teaching you guys the owner's manual. And for a funky measly $50, that's what we'll bring into the world. If you're looking to try to heal yourself, I told y'all this yesterday. I tell you guys this today. A doctor and a reverend should be the same people. Your pastor and your doctor should be the same people. Okay? You should not have to go to two different people for that particular service. Okay? And the same way that is the same way that your wealth teacher can also be your agriculture teacher. The one who can teach you how to grow something can teach you how to grow wealth. We're just using different tools, different resources, but same methodology is behind growth. We're using different vernacular, different, I may want to use wood for my monopoly. You may want to use a ship. I may want to use a car. The other person may want to use a hat. We're still going down the same path. So that's what we teach people here at the HerbMan Show, you guys. If you are interested in your owner's manual, please DM us and we'll get you to the right information that you need, you guys. All right, so that's what we do. That's how we do it. This is free information. This is the free information station. You don't have to pay for this information. All you got to do to pay for it is simply pay attention. And how you do that is by double tapping that screen and getting us up to 100K during the live, all right? So how we do this is once we get to 1,000 likes, we get the subject matter started off. And since we're already there, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, again, just like I just reiterated, we've been teaching you guys about the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows. We've been teaching you guys about there are going to be times of sickness, despair, and all this type of stuff. Okay, so let that just go ahead and sink in. Right, there's gonna be times where things are gonna get out of whack. Right, and so at those times, the bottom line is don't get so beneath the situation. Right, don't get so low that you play yourself out of position. Right? Because you must understand that every valley is setting you up for a mountain, but every mountain is setting you up for a valley. Good times and bad times, no matter in the rich man's life or the poor man's life, there will be good times and bad times. You will catch a poor man smiling every now and then, just like you'll catch a rich man crying every now and then, because that's life. And you can't stop those ebbs and flows, that duality, no matter which end of the spectrum that you start on. Okay? So what we need to understand is how to develop a relationship along with nature. How to develop a communication, how to develop a understanding that it requires me and you to coordinate in order for me to live as long as I possibly can. Even though you know that, you haven't formulated a relationship with nature like our ancestors did in order to be able to really ride these tides. So now, community of humanity is getting a little bit more involved, right? Getting a little bit more multicultural, right? We're on airplanes with each other. We're on ships with each other. So now you're starting to get this melting pot of different ingredients for different types of bacteria, different types of viruses, different types of colds and flus, different types of infections. There's different types of stuff because you got a melting pot of people coming from different places, different germs, different locations, regions, waters, different foods and ingredients in it. And so it's just a smelting pot of different diseases. So you got to know how to guard your body, but in essence, understand that there's nothing that could really befall the body if you can kick it into gear in the extra element, which is the spiritual side of it. And the reason why I would ever say to you, your pastor and your doctor should be the same person is because anytime that you are hurting, initially, unless it's a genetic predisposition, which means that your parents got the blunt of that problem, at the end of the day, that means that you are a whole person, which means that functionality-wise, you could not have a physical issue without a spiritual trauma. So therefore, you need to be taught to in mind and body, considering the fact that when we go back to Adam and Eve, and we're looking at the duality of what you're seeing right now, We're looking at masculine and feminine energy. We're looking at the left and the right side of the brain. We're looking at the northern and the southern hemisphere. We're looking at the left and the right hemisphere. We're looking at the yin and the yang. We're looking at all of these dualities that we've been taught along the history road. But what we do need to understand is how to balance the duality in order for us to be healthy again. And that's what you tend to find in your owner's manual for your measly, funky $50. And what we're trying to do is teach you guys how to heal yourselves more than you just showing up at my fish every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, keep me rich. Instead of you popping up at my shop every day, want a two-piece fish and some fries, why don't I teach you how to fish? And the teaching how to fish is an educational class. Yeah, you could pay for that, but it don't have to be unaccessible. It don't have to be a blowed up and puffed up number. It don't have to be like that just because I know everybody needs it and everybody wants it and everybody deserves it and everybody needs to get it and they got all but it still don't have to be so balls high that it ain't no earthly good. So you make sure that it's accessible because you know that it needs to be accessible. Just like your Bible, everybody needs their own thing. And if we can give these away for free, if we can get them away for less amounts of money, we would. But at the end of the day, it'll never go up in the amount. So for a funky, measly $50, for everybody to be able to kind of scrumble together and help each other get it, that's what we got it at for right now. But the bottom line is it'll go lower, it'll never go up. Because we truly believe that everybody should have this. This should be your particular bonus manual, which should serve as a guide for you to get the optimal performance, the optimal usage, and the longevity out of your life experience that you're seeking. We're supposed to be at least to 120 years old. You can't get there on no cane. You can't get there bent over. You can't get there on one leg, one eye. You can't get there with high blood pressure, diabetes, and autoimmune disease and cancers. So what we got to do then is understand that since we can't get to at least the 120 that God gave us, because soon as you bit that apple, like we showed you yesterday, that the first thing that you got hit on is your health. Soon as you bit that apple, they said, look here, you cannot live forever. We're going to banish you out of here so you can't have access to the tree of life. So the greatest sin from biting the fruit ain't working, it's your health. It ain't the fact that Adam had to till the ground. It ain't the fact that Eve was going to be laborious in labor. It is the fact that we can't live as long no more. The first thing he said was, get your ass out of here. You can't live long no more. So your health got hit first. Now, we understood that this ain't a real story about a real thing. So then what is this about? The health of your consciousness. The health of your consciousness is at the level, at the degree, at the measurement that only at best will the health of your physical body be. So wherever the health of your consciousness is at, if it's in belief systems, if it's in nothing, if it's in science, if it's in this, if it's in that, it is at the level of the health of your consciousness will your body survive. Now, guess what? We've had a lot of gurus and a lot of monks and a lot of Tibetans and a lot of people before us come before us and not understand that duality and that science. So therefore, you had a lot of folks dying, trying to get to the other side, got to the other side, couldn't come back. Why? Because you didn't value the body. Why? Because your body is only strong as the health of your consciousness, meaning that they could only go as far as they knew how to go. Meaning that they took the body as far as the spiritual consciousness could go. Meaning that the health consciousness came down and the value of your experience when it comes to your physical body comes down. So it's with the health of the consciousness go down, that the body's value go down, that then the life experience is no more than 120 years. Now, this is biblical. I'm teaching you about Genesis, but letting you know that Adam and Eve weren't real two people. God didn't really say this, but there is a principle behind it telling you that if you will allow one of the other parts of your brain to take over, and you can't eradicate it from thought. And the reason why thought is the biggest thing, and I started to teach this the other day, but I didn't finish my thought on it. The reason why thought, you say, well, what the fuck is the problem with thought? Thought entered into the mind, and then the body followed. What was so big about thought? The serpent, the snake. Why is thought the snake? And I've come to realize that the only reason that that story will illustrate to you that thought was a snake is because when you're in the bosom of the Most High consciousness, when you're at your most highest consciousness, is where there should be no thought. So when thought even arises in your most highest state, this is the same thing as Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. When he fasted for 40 days, it was considered to be at your physical lowest is when you at your spiritual highness. So the fasting in the Garden of Gethsemane meant that he went back to the Most High. And it was at that Most High place. Remember, the devil met him on the mountain. The devil took him up to the mountain and said, look at him, pimp, I give you all this. He said, devil, don't tempt me. So you see that they were talking at the Most High. The thoughts can come in at your most highest moment. So in this Garden of Eden, when your left and right brain are working and creating together, it is at this highest moment that you should take no thought. So the fact that you're working at your greatest moment and still feel like you lacking in anything, to have a thought of lack, because the thought was what? Bite of the knowledge of good and evil, because that's something you might not have that they got that you don't got. Oh, I'm in lack of anything? I didn't think I was in lack of anything. So it is the thought of lack. That's why your wants, needs, and desires are the real principles behind your suffering. You suffer because of you not being able to get what you want, need, and desire. It is through those wants and needs and desires that suffering is even a possibility. Why would you suffer for? Because of your wants, needs, and desires. But if you get back into contentment, the real spiritual relationship that you're supposed to establish while you're here is with this thing that we're talking about. The real reason why you're here is to formulate a relationship with the sun, with the air, with the earth, with the water. Talk to the plants and to the trees and pay homage to life given over to you, whether it be a plant or animal. And how you pay homage to a life is that you leave something behind. You never take all of your plants. You never kill all of your animals. There's always a giving back. There's always a reciprocal understanding between nature and nature. Nature will take a life and at the same time give it. It is in this reciprocal nature that all things are created. I like to call it the understanding of reproduction. Everything is up under this thing, but I like to use it in agriculture. I like to use it in gardening terminology. I like to use it in these ways because what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that's what this is about. You can reproduce your healing. It can go from just being a word of your mouth to actually happening to your kidneys, and you can get off dialysis. You can reproduce healing, and it can actually go down to that foot that don't work, and that motherfucker will work. You can actually do some of these things that you've been reading about, but nobody's ever illustrated to you how to connect to the power source, right? So it's like a thing of, what is this? If you look at this, this is everything. This is your compass, northeast, southwest. This is your DNA strand. Okay, this is the caduceus of the medical thing. This is the ankh. If I took my ankh off and put it right there, this would be the eye, the cross, and the phallus. This is a cross right there. Okay, this is the yellow brick road. This is the yin and the yang. This is the three doshas, kapha, pitta, vata. everything. This is the medicine wheel, the Native American medicine wheel. This is this. This is the 4 elements. This is the 4 humors. This is the 5 elements. This is everything, right? This is a timekeeper. So we go back to something like this. We go back to nature. We send you back to nature. I don't know who's on these lives on these social media platforms telling you how they know how to go back to nature. I ain't talking about reading no tarot card. I ain't talking about going back to nature, reading the actual native reading that they do. We ain't even doing the shells no more. The seashell. We ain't even doing that no more. Okay. There's a record of each and every one of you by nature by the day you were born. It's stamped and approved in the heavens. It's stamped and approved in the constellations. You are stamped and approved in the stars. I don't care if you came here and left here 1 second. You breathed out 1 second and left here, you were stamped and recorded in the halls of nature. Y'all call it the book of life. Every single being that came into this paradigm that breathed 1 second, 1 moment of air, when you transition from water, every animal, every plant transition from water to air. Because when you under the ground or under the dirt, there's damn near no air. It ain't nothing but what? Water. Water is the ingredient along with what's in the soil. You don't get no ass sun until you penetrate out of the soil. So that lets us know that we're going from one dynamic to the other. We're going from transitioning from one thing to the other. Yes, your heart don't work. Yes, your lungs don't work, but they can. All you got to know that there is a possibility because of nature showing you that there's one thing turning into another. That the possibility of nothing can turn into something. That there's always been an illustration of nothing turning into something. That there's always been instances of it don't work, then it started to work. There's always been examples in nature of something being dead and then coming alive. An idea being dormant and then showing or rearing its head. There's always been illustrations in nature. See, when you start asking folk, you get lost. When you start asking folk their opinion, you get lost in the sauce. When you start asking folk what they think, you get lost. But when you start asking nature, you can get back on track. What we are presenting to the masses of people on TikTok, social media, and all around the globe is a